name is Moon, and my illustrated presentation is based on the principle of God's love and salvation. The name of my presentation is He is Able, Author Unknown. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son." Yes, God is a God of love, but He is jealous of His plan of salvation. You see, it cost Him His only Son. Perhaps the story I'm about to tell you will help you to understand God's gift to you a little bit better. A large sailing vessel started from the other side of the ocean for a port on this side. Among those on board was the captain's only son, a lad of some 12 summers who loved the Lord with all of his heart. The old captain's heart was all wrapped up in the lad, and he was all the more precious because his mother was dead. The gallant old ship plowed her way through the deep and was nearing the end of the voyage when she encountered a terrific storm. Day turned into night, and the days passed without any letting up of the storm. The sails were torn to threads, and the masts blown away, except for one, which was broken off at the top. The rudders disarranged, and the compass lost. At the mercy of the wild waves, they drifted in darkness, until the sound of the waves crashing over the rocks sent up a cry from those on board. "We are lost! We are lost!" At a great effort, the signal gun of distress was fired from the old ship. The signal went up from the life-saving station to put up a light so that they could locate the ship in the storm. The captain called for volunteers to climb to the top of the mast and make fast a light. The first mate did not volunteer. Neither the second, nor any of the crew. Turning away, the captain softly mumbled to himself, "We are all lost." He lifted his head in amazement when he heard the sound of his young son saying, "I'll go, Father. I'll put up the light." Can you imagine the love the father must have felt, and yet the fear of knowing the danger for his child? But he held out the lantern and placed it into the hands of his only son. "God bless you, my son." The boy started up the mast, which was covered in ice, while the ship was tossing and rolling in the sea. He went up a short distance, then shouted back, "Father, I do not think I can go any further. May I return?" But remember, the lives of all on board depended on the success of the boy's effort. "Look up, my son, and go on." A little further up, and the boy shouted a second time, "Father, my hands are so cold. May I return?" But a second time, the father shouted to his son, "Look up, my son, and go on." Encouraged by his parent, the brave little fellow went up higher, but shouted back a third time, "Father, my hands are very numb. I do not think I can hold on much longer. Please, may I return?" A third time, the father shouted through the storm, "Look up, my son, and go on." Can you imagine the feeling the father must have felt hearing the pleas of his only child? But it was life or death for all on board. And again, he encouraged his son to go on, until the place at the top of the mast was reached and the light made fast. The boy was now able to start to return to his father. His hands were very numb, and he tried hard to cling to the icy mast. The ship was rolling and pitching in the heavy sea, and there was an agonizing cry heard over the wind. "Father!" Only the father could feel the real pain of the loss, and yet the joy of knowing that all on board were saved and taken ashore. Will you trust and believe that nearly 2,000 years ago, God heard a cry of sinners in distress? And God sent His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth on Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. You see, God the Father felt the real pain of His Son dying on the cross for your sins. And yet, God the Father and His Son Jesus feel the joy of all who believe that Jesus died on the cross for their sins and our life saved. Have you asked Jesus to come into your heart?